Hi everybody! Welcome to another installment of Conversations in Wire. I am your host, James Browning. I am a sales representative here for the Softflex company. We are a jewelry wire manufacturer based out of Sonoma, California. We do have a gallery that we'd love for you to stop by if you're ever in our area. Today we're actually going to be talking about adjustable wire rings. They're a really simple project, and you can customize them any way that you want. There's so many different ways that you can make a wire ring. So we're going to go over that today and just a few tips and tricks. So let's get started. All right. So this is going to be a fairly short video because this is a really quick project. So we're going to go over what adjustable rings are basically, and the best way to go about making them so that they're the most comfortable, and then we're gonna go make a couple. So first let's talk about adjustable rings. So when I was younger, I used to get those little those balls that you can get out of those coin machines, and there were always rings in there that were adjustable, but the adjustable part was always on the back, and I've always been a pudgy kid, so they would always pinch the inside of my fingers and were really not comfortable. So the most comfortable adjustable ring is going to have the adjustability part in the front of the ring. So on this one, it's not quite in the front because I didn't have enough wire cut, but it is not on the back, it's more along the sides. So, as long as you can get it past this point back here, they should be comfortable. Like on this one, the whole band is wrapped, and the adjustableness is going to be on the front. Now, the majority of adjustable rings should not be adjustable for more than 3 sizes. So like one size in the middle and then one size on either side. So the average female ring, I believe, is a 6. So that means that you would want to create an adjustable ring that would be adjustable up to 7 and down to 5. So if you wanted to make a couple of different versions, just keep that in mind when you're making your adjustable, because if you go too much adjusting, like if somebody wanted this ring and this is falling at a 10, so you could adjust it down, but then these wrap parts are going to be on the side of your fingers, so you can't really, like, you could go pretty big on this one because it would just put it on top, but going the other way is not going to work so good. So just keep that in mind when you are designing and sizing. There are multiple different ways to get a good one. This is called a folded adjustable ring because we've actually taken a piece of wire and folded it in half, and then your fold is part of your design. This is a folded ring as well, but instead of pinching the fold all the way down, I opted to put a bead in that fold. So it's still one piece of wire that's been wrapped in 2. These, on the other hand, are simple wraparound rings. This is also a wraparound ring. So it's just one wire for the band, and it wraps around the shank of the ring mandrel when you're making it. So let's go ahead and try making one of these. So for tools that we're going to need, I always recommend 18 gauge for rings if you don't have the ability to go up a little bit more, because the thicker the ring, the less it's going to shift around and bend, or sorry, the thicker the wire, I should say. So 16, 18, that kind of gauge, so way up on the, or low, so remember, the lower the number, the thicker the gauge. So 18 is the biggest wire that we carry gauge wise, so I'm going to use 18. We'll need a ring mandrel. which is either metal or plastic you can get, or wood even, and it's generally a tapered tube or dowel that has markings to where your ring sizes are. I'm going to use these tools. These are called loop rights, and they have markings as to where your millimeters should be for making loops. And then I'm also going to have my nylon jaw tools, which are always handy, a pair of bent nose or chain nose, so I can hold onto the wire when I'm straightening, and then a pair of round nose. The only reason I'm having a pair of round nose is because I need to make different size loops, and like this kind of thing I can't achieve using this yet. I'm not that good with those tools. We'll also need wire cutters, and if you have it, a nylon head hammer, and either a bench block or your ring mandrel works good, because what we want to do is we want to work harden the wire of the ring so that there's not as much give, so it'll be more springy. Alright, so let's get started. For this first one, I'm going to do this simple one right here. We're just going to cut off a length of wire, and what I found is best to do is to measure out the mid size of your ring. So if it's like if you want to do 6, measure the 6 and get that amount, and then triple it, and that gives you plenty of wire to work with. I'm trying to keep it on the spool trick that you guys keep talking about, so I'll see if I like it better. Now I'm going to make sure that I'm using my flush cuts, and I'm cutting so that the flush cut is going to be on my working side, so that both ends of my wires are flush cut. This one was not, so we're going to cut that real quick. Alright, so like I said, this is a really, really fast project. You could whip like 20 of these out during one showing of your favorite sitcom. Alright, so I'm going to find I'm actually going to bend this in half so I've got a good starting point. And then I'm going to find the size that I want. I'm going to do 9. Actually, I'm going to make this a little smaller for somebody I know. We'll go 7. Okay. So now we have our basic ring shape, and now we can just play with what's left over. So you can do this either with your tools or by hand. I think I'm going to do this with my tools. So I'm going to start I'm just going to curl this up. Making spirals this way is a little nerve-wracking, but once you get the hang of it, it's not too bad. I have a tendency to make my spirals a little wonky, so do whatever it does, do whatever you need to do to make yours the way that you want. You can do it with your fingers, you can hold on to it, spin it like this, so you can start it. And I'm trying to remember which way the spirals are so we end up with an opposite spiral. Okay, and then you can just, because our wire is dead soft, so you can actually just finger bend this into the spirals that you want. So there, now we have like a little bit of an S. So this is a really big ring. I probably did not need as much of this. So if you are using inexpensive wire, you totally could cut off some of this excess, like this. And then you could take your pliers and just curl this up again. And you know me, I love to fiddle with my work, so just fiddle it to where it feels good. And then you can go back on your mandrel and see where you ended up. We wanted this to be a 7, didn't we? So we have gotten a little out of shape. Now, the cool thing about our mandrel is that it is round like a finger. So what we can do to make this lay better is to take our nylon hammer and kind of bend it and hammer it against the mandrel and kind of get it down to the shape that we want it. And we also want to hit the band back here too. Remember, we're just work hardening this so that it gets a little bit more spring, so it doesn't come out of shape as easy. And now, to add beads, this is pretty cool. Make sure that your the ends of your wire are flat, because they'll go onto your bead better and it'll hold it nicer. And you just thread your bead right onto your wire and you put it back down. And since the bend is enclosing that bead should not go anywhere. So I pull up my spiral a little bit, thread my bead, and then I push it back down. And then fiddle, fiddle, fiddle. See, this popped out because it was not captured well enough. So let's try that again. This one is not cooperating. The hole's too big. There we go. Alright. So this is our Funky Fun beaded spiral ring that is totally adjustable, so it can fit on any finger you want. And let's try to do a fun beaded folded ring. So kind of like this, but a little bit more simple, because what I did on this one is I actually did some weaving, so you can see how intricate that is. But that makes it nice and comfy. Alright, so purple wire is one of our wires that is currently being closed out, so we're not going to be carrying this much longer. So now is the time to get some of this. Okay, so first step in creating a folding ring is to fold it. And it looks like I need to square off this side, so give me a sec. Remember, squaring this side makes just the finished project look more finished. So it doesn't look like, it looks purposeful, the cut does. Okay, so now we know where half is. What I want to do next is take my loop right pliers, and these beads that I'm going to use, I'm going to use an orange one. I think these are about 8 millimeters, so I'm going to make my loop go around the 8 here and give me a nice round end there. And then it should fit right over my bead. Yep. Okay, perfect. Now I'm just going to straighten these back out gently as I can. Alright, now I'm going to get some 28 gauge purple because I want this to blend in. I've decided not to be contrasty with this project. And I'm just going to cut off a little bit. I don't need a lot. And you can use probably 22 gauge up to for this part. I think 28 gauge is good if you're not going to be like spinning your ring a lot, because the 28 gauge, since it's much thinner, will wear out faster. So we want to make sure that if the bead or the thing that we're wrapping is going to move a lot, that it doesn't wear out the hole that, you know, because the bead is going to be rubbing on that wire. So as long as we've got it nice and wrapped securely and it's not going to move around a lot, we should be fine with 28. But if you feel a little worried about it, go up to I think 22 is the biggest that I would recommend, because it is a pretty big design piece to see the wraps on your work. Alright, so I just did, I think, 4 on either side, and so that is wrapped in there. It's good to go, not going anywhere. So we can cut these last little bits off here. And I like to take my wires and go around the bead like this, because I want this to actually kind of pop up, because it's not going to sit on your finger right if you make it go right in the middle. So this is good. Now I'm going to take my chain nose or my bent nose, and I'm going to bend these straight right at the crossover point. so that we get a little connection like that. It's like a little neck. And then I just try and fiddle this down so that the wires sit next to each other. So I think what I did was I made this bend too sharp, so it's making my wires do funny things. So you can always try and fix that by gently, here, you know what, use your nylon jaw on this type of wire because it does not like metal tools. That color will scratch off fairly simply because all it is an enamel on wire. And ours is pretty well enameled, so it does take a little bit more work to get it to chip off, but it is the nature of this type of wire to get chipped off. Okay, so now we have a fairly decent captured bead there. Now I'm just going to take this leftover and I'm just going to wrap a couple of times around here to keep these guys connected. And you can squish your wires down, make sure that they stay. If you've got any pokey outy bits, just trim them down a little. Kind of like to make them sort of at the midpoint, maybe a little past, because I find they don't quite get as, they don't stand up as much when they're in the middle for some reason. I don't know what the magic is on that, but that is the case. Okay, so now we can put this around our ring mandrel. Let's go with an 8. Now this is backwards. See, I wanted to have, oh, sorry about that. I wanted to have the bead on top, so let's try going around the other way. Okay, so then here, ooh, my goodness. Here comes a design choice. You can go, like I did on this, you could go under or over your bead. Or, like on this one, you can aim the fold in the middle and play with your design on the outside. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to bend my bead a little bit sharper. And I'm going to separate these now. And I'm going to put it back on the mandrel. And we're going to do just some fiddling to get a nice round connection there. Okay. So now we have all of this ring to play with. So let's do some, actually I'm going to trim off some of this. Okay. Let's see. All right. Kind of looks like an eye. All right. So this landed right at 9, so that's good. We can squish it down to 7 if we want. Yeah. That's a good place to be. All right, now I'm gonna just give it some strength by work hardening it a little. And you don't need a metal ring mandrel to be able to do this, but if you wanted to do texturing with like a metal hammer, you do kind of want to get a metal mandrel because that will allow you to hammer and like get some actual texture to your wire. I think it's a good investment. We haven't started carrying them yet because they are pretty pricey to ship, so maybe in the future, but right now, no. So our final ring, I think we're going to try and do this one. A cute little heart. Let's do that real quick. We're going to use the purple again, and I'm just going to get a nice big chunk here. Alright, so I've got the ends nice and flat. Now we're going to straighten it out. You know, wire straightening, making sure that you've got a really nice clean wire when you start a project is really important in my mind. Even if you're using it to wrap, I think that if you have a nice flat straight wire, it's going to wrap easier and it's going to look more smooth and professional. So even if you're beginning, it's really important to straighten your wires so that you get a really nice look to your stuff. So if you haven't gotten a pair of nylon jaw tools, feel free to hit up our website, www.softflexcompany.com. Alright, so making a heart in the middle of the ring is what we're going to try and do. And the first thing we want to do is create this right here. So we're just going to bend it in half, and then we're going to tug at both sides until we get that teeny tiny little loop. And when I made this one, I actually used the loop right tools at the 8 mark, and I bent it around so I had a really nice round heart shape there. So I'm going to try that again. And then, of course, fiddling. Because this is a pretty big heart. We may be able to squish it down just a little. Gently hold on and you can push one side more. That's pretty heart-shaped, right? Okay. Now, we want to decide what size we want our ring to be. So I'm going to put that shape right over the center. And bend my ring around. Now, see, I overcompensated and I cut off way too much wire. So, you don't need quite as much as I cut off. But it is a lot easier to cut wire off than it is to add. So feel free to do what I say, but not what I do. Alright, so I'm going to trim these off about here. So I'm going to use that length to make some cute loops. Alright, so this one is going below our ring, so we'll make a loop here and go this way. And this one, I think I'm going to cut off just a little bit more. Because we are going to make a loop here. Okay, back on the mandrel, and we can kind of cinch this up. So this turned out to be more of a 9 than an 8. So if I wanted this to be more at an 8, I would have to probably trim more off and make new loops. But I think I'm okay with where it is right now. Okay. So we made some rings today. That was fun. And as always, I had a lot of fun hanging out with you guys. Here's what we made. No, we made these guys. And this cool fun one. Alright, so I hope I gave you some good information about making adjustable rings, and I would love to see all of those that you make. If you want to join up on our Facebook group, we have what's called the Very Important Beader Group, and we have a group of wonderful, talented artists that post all of their stuff on there to share, and we all have a great time giving each other compliments. We are a great group of people. And then, as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe bell if you would like to be notified when SoftFlex puts out more videos like this one. And then if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thanks again for joining us, and you have a great afternoon. Bye!